Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News podcast. Well, I can't even talk this afternoon. Holy, it's going to be a good one. Folks, I'm absolutely pumped for today's epi. Another guest coming in hot from New York City. New York City has 100% reclaimed the crypto capital of the world. Literally, it seems like 66% of my guests are coming in hot from New York nowadays. When we started the pod, it was the exodus of New York, and everyone was either in Miami, Dubai, Austin. It's literally 66% New York now. So we love to see that. Today we have son Raghupathi on the show today, CEO of Veda, who I absolutely love. This is one of the sickest teams and platforms in crypto right now. They're the leading DeFi vault platform, enabling crypto applications, asset issuers, and protocols to build consumer-grade cross-chain yield products. Prior to founding Veda and Seven Seas, Sun was head of research and development at Sommelier, a protocol for decentralized asset management specializing in actively managed vaults. This is going to be an absolute banger on vaults and everything of the like. Sun, welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing this lovely afternoon?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, Matt.
Pumped to have you on. You and I were talking about India a little before the show here. You're from India. I was in Chennai in 2019. You asked, why was I there? It's a bit of a long story. I'll try to sort of give the spark notes. I'm Canadian. One of my good buddies worked for Bill Blair, who is currently the defense minister. He used to be the minister of tourism and sport for Canada, then was a municipal MP. He got a call from the head of sport and tourism in India, and the dude said, hey, we made up this sport. It was like a billionaire or something in India made up the sport 5-6 years ago called rollball. It's a mix of roller hockey, basketball, handball, and soccer. The sixth annual world championship is in Chennai, India this year. If you guys build a team, we'd love to have you. We're going to pay for your hotel and your flight. So my buddy called me.
Wow.
I used to be a pretty good hockey player, a bit of an athlete, now washed up in a bit of a milk bag. But again, that was, 7 years ago, 2019. He's like, come join the team. And we went to India and it was absolutely electric. Saw a lot of wild stuff. People are even coming up to us and like touching us. They've never seen a white person before, and it was so cool. After the game, I'm getting asked for autographs. Best Indian food I've ever had in my life. Absolute fire. First time I've also ever cried from food. Went to an Indian restaurant. The lady was like, you want the tourist or do you want the local? I was like, give me the local. I'm not a softie. And I literally started crying and sweating profusely. And the food there is just all world. People are so nice. The smells, the spices. I freaking loved it, man. So shout out Chennai, India.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's a city that most tourists do not go to.
Yeah.
Super interesting story, man. And India's got the craziest sports. Like they have the
Insane.
weirdest sports. So have you heard of kabaddi?
Yes, I have.
Have you heard of that sport?
Yeah.
Most of the listeners probably have never heard of this. It sounds, to a Westerner, it sounds absurd, but it's a sport where there's a mat and a line in the middle,
Yeah.
two teams.
Yeah.
You send one of your teammates to the other side and they have to keep saying the word kabaddi under their breath. Kabaddi, 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 kabaddi. And while they're on the other side, their goal is to touch the other team and get back safely to their side.
Yeah.
And it's the most absurd thing to watch, but super entertaining. Anyway, it was super interesting. I learned a new sport now already. So
also,
cool
dude, the tech hubs. I didn't know about the tech hubs. I forget all the names of the companies, but guys, for the listeners, there's little cities with like hundreds of thousands of people. Maybe that's a little much. Definitely tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. And son, you know this better than I do, with like the billion-dollar tech organizations within Chennai, India. Where it's like they have the schools, they have the grocery stores, they have everything in this little almost walled city. I was like, holy crap. I mean, in Canada, we got none of that stuff,
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a different world.
Different world. Anyways, love it. And you can't wait to go back. Okay, jumping in. Vaults. Let's go right into vaults. Before we get into Veda, give me the TLDR on vaults. Vaults are blowing up right now. It's for the listeners. Vaults are like, in TradFi, you hire a money manager who rinses you, usually doesn't outperform the S&P. You give them way too many fees. Vaults are the exact opposite. Vaults are, yes, there's still people and there's some manual aspect of it, but it's a really good algo, a lot of delta neutral stuff. The fees are pretty much non-existent and you get a much higher yield and usually outperform the S&P. Which I think TradFi is already starting to love. So I butchered the explanation, but son, give us the TLDR on vaults, why they're so powerful, and then tie it into Veda, and we'll get into the fun stuff.
Absolutely. And I actually think you did a great job for what it's worth. When you look at the things that are interesting in crypto, where you should actually start is TradFi, right? Because TradFi is rife with all kinds of systems that are opaque, they're expensive, they're inaccessible. And most importantly, people don't have control of their assets, right? They put their money into this system that they neither get the value from, nor do they keep control of. So one example is payments, right? Payments have seen a ton of adoption within crypto, and every serious payments company is now looking at crypto, right? If you look at
100%.
Stripe and just how deep, how hard they've leaned into it, it's remarkable. Vaults are this for yield. And you can think of this as there's not that many things that people want to do with their money, right? They want to send it to people. That's payments. Vaults are what you get when people want to earn on their capital. And the traditional system for enabling people to earn on their capital is totally broken, right? You look at banks, you put your money in a bank and you don't get any interest on it, right? The banks are making all the money, but you don't even keep control of your assets. You're the one taking the risk, and the bank is the one that gets all the reward, right? You look at traditional investments and other kinds of products that are only accessible to a very narrow range of people. People can't hold assets, right? They don't have ways of preserving and growing their wealth. So fundamentally what vaults are, they are an on-chain DeFi native tool that enables more transparent asset management and more accessible yield. And the reason this is important now, specifically now in 2026, is TradFi and FinTech has understood that on-chain yield is the killer product. Every single financial institution, every single exchange, every single FinTech will be offering on-chain yield to their customers over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. We're already seeing this play out. So it's a great time to be in the business. We are probably the oldest vault provider, oldest general purpose vault provider. We obviously stand on the shoulders of real DeFi OGs like Yearn. Sommelier was a project that I used to work on back in the day, but now is really the time for vaults. And so it's been really, really gratifying to see, all the interest in the space that we're getting from fintechs, TradFi institutions. So I'll pause there. I'm happy to get into what makes Veda special as well.
I love that. Okay, before we go right into Veda, vaults as a whole, explain how it works. You did a good job of sort of explaining, the convergence of TradFi and crypto, how vaults are a killer use case of crypto. I guess more specifically, on-chain yield, which I completely agree with. I think the three killer use cases of crypto present day: centralized exchanges, right? Which is it? Sort of killer? No, but it is, because you need it, right? If you need a way to on-ramp. Stable coins, probably taking the number one is stable coins, and number three is probably on-chain yield, because it's the best kind of yield. It's the most transparent, and it's high. It's awesome. And it used to be very risky and unsafe, and now it is very trustworthy and safe. So before we get into Veda, what exactly is a vault? How does it work? And how does it sort of differ from, a Jito or any of the RWAs or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a vault fundamentally is a smart contract, like any other DeFi primitive that users can deposit their assets into. What happens under the hood there is those assets are routed to a number of other assets, RWAs, DeFi protocols, and yield sources. So you can think of the vault as an abstraction layer that packages up different DeFi primitives and assets and offers that experience to a user in a seamless one-click single interface product that aggregates liquidity, which is super important. So a vault's an abstraction layer. That's a way of thinking about it. Now, how that differs from projects like Jito, Lido, Aave. Jito and Lido are staking projects. Aave is a lending protocol. These are fundamentally DeFi primitives, right? So when you consider primitives in DeFi, these are programmatic ways for financial participants to coordinate in a peer-to-peer way, right? So you take Aave as an example. Aave is the largest lending protocol in DeFi, and it is this programmatic, fully automated system where lenders can match with borrowers and earn interest on their lending, right? Staking, similarly, is you lock up your capital in a protocol and you earn protocol rewards. So these are two different yield sources. But when you think of an average user or an average institution that is not crypto native, they think about these products in a very different way, right? They think in terms of risk return. And their view is they want to be able to construct a portfolio and a product that meets them or their clients' specific risk return profiles. So you have DeFi, I'll just reiterate, you have DeFi at its primitive layer, which are all these cool mechanisms for new kinds of peer-to-peer coordination, whether those are exchanges for trading assets, lending protocols for matching borrowers and lenders, staking protocols for matching assets to security and being paid for that. But vaults allow you to package all of that up into a product experience that a consumer or an institution can use. And that's not even getting into the compliance benefits and some of the security benefits that come with vaults. This is purely as a product thing.
I like that. And again, the UI UX, I got asked about this because I feel like a lot of days it's ever more important, where it's not just about what it does, it's the experience of the product as well. Like, walk us through how bloody easy it is to use a vault. You go on, you send your stable coins or whatever to smart contract ABC XYZ, and you're pretty much done. Like, it's really that simple.
It's amazing. The thing that I think is really powerful about vaults is the ability to abstract multiple chains and multiple protocols and assets all within a single unified experience. So by the time this podcast comes out, hopefully we'll have a launch announcement with Kraken, that Veda is powering Kraken DeFi Earn. And what's super powerful about this is you have millions of users who are getting access to truly multi-chain yield. Right? Users are going to deposit on Ink, which is Kraken's chain, but they'll be able to earn yield across Ink and Ethereum, and in the future, potentially more chains, all with a single click. Super powerful experience. This is like future of DeFi shit, where you have a user who's heard of DeFi, they've maybe used crypto, but they haven't actually deployed their capital on chain. And now with a single button from the exchange, they're earning yield across multiple assets, multiple protocols, and multiple chains. It's unprecedented.
That's absolutely electric. Okay. Give us the deep dive on Veda, how you guys separate yourselves from perhaps some of the other vaults. There's a lot of great vaults on all different blockchains now, of course, all the big ones, Hyperliquid, you name it, but give us the elevator pitch on Veda and what makes you guys special and separates you from the other vaults.
Yeah, vaults have become this term that is just super overloaded. Like everyone is building vaults, everyone has a vault. I'd categorize this into two buckets. The first bucket is Hyperliquid, things like Morpho, what I would consider protocol specific vaults that are built specifically to solve a protocol certain need, right? And Hyperliquid was super ahead of the curve on this. Like they were one of the first perp exchanges to build a deep vault infrastructure. And what does Hyperliquid's vault do? It's a market making vault, right? You deposit into it and it supplies liquidity into the markets. Why this is so powerful is now they have a way of bootstrapping liquidity on their markets with passive capital. Instead of requiring sophisticated market makers, the user base they can attract and the liquidity they can attract is much larger. It was so successful, in fact, that every single perp exchange is doing this now, right?
Yep.
Like Lighter has their vaults. Every exchange has vaults at this point. Okay, so that's protocol specific vaults because all that vault can do is market make on Hyperliquid, right? And that's what it was built for. What Veda is the category leader in is general purpose vaults, meaning vaults that span any protocol, any chain, any asset. It is not opinionated on which protocols and which chains. We pride ourselves in having the widest support. So that's one of our differentiators. We've been building for so long and at such scale that we support every major chain, every major protocol, anything that you could name in the EVM world, at least we probably already support, which is impossible to overstate the importance of that, right? Like what asset issuers, exchanges, institutions want is flexibility and the ability to get yield wherever it is. The second thing is really a security point, right? Because the biggest risk of DeFi historically has been you lose all your money.
Yeah.
Right. And that's always been the hurdle and the bottleneck to getting DeFi adopted. And frankly, like, we can talk about AI and how this is changing things, but fundamentally, there's no better heuristic for security in DeFi than scale and time in market, right? The only way to really trust that a system is secure is how long has it been operating and how much capital has it been securing. And Veda's been operating for 2 years at this point. We've secured an all-time high of 6 billion in TVL, never had a security incident at the vault layer. And there's no other multi-protocol vault provider that has been operating for as long or at that scale. And so this has been a huge advantage for us. It's why a lot of institutions were kind of the default choice, because how do you justify going with something that's less feature rich and that's less secure?
I love that. I want to just take a step back and go into stablecoins. You've been on record huge about stablecoins and more so the utility gap. Everyone says, oh, when Bitcoin goes up, and again, I do still agree to some extent that when Bitcoin rises, it brings all boats with it, all the tides go with it. Everything usually does well and sort of follows Bitcoin as that leader. But you're still big on stablecoins drive scale, not so much Bitcoin. And that is exactly what we need to unlock a huge lending market, a huge credit market, and to unlock the next level of vaults. I'd love if you could go on a little riff on your TLDR on stablecoins and why they're so bloody important to the whole market.
Yeah, stablecoins are honestly they were the missing piece of the puzzle to make DeFi interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Before stablecoins, there was one interesting asset, and it was ETH. Right. And so DeFi was just a financial economy built around the asset of ETH. Now, ETH is a phenomenal asset. I think it's going to grow over time, and it's clearly critical as a backbone of this financial economy. But as an asset, we're talking about an asset that's, 100 billion in size, a couple hundred billion, right? The TAM of that is just much smaller. To get to something that is trillion-dollar scale that unlocks millions and billions of users, it's really the dollar, right? The dollar is the backbone of the global financial ecosystem,
Yeah.
and stablecoins bridge that ecosystem to DeFi. So frankly, I don't think DeFi works without stablecoins, right? Like it was a necessary missing piece of the puzzle. Now, going beyond that, Bitcoin is another one that people talk about a lot. And I personally am pretty bullish on Bitcoin yield. I think there's a huge narrative over
Massive.
2025 bringing
Yeah.
Bitcoin on chain, enabling yield. And I think a lot of it is true, right? Like if you look at the largest exchanges and custodians, they're sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars of Bitcoin
Yeah.
that is doing nothing,
Yeah.
right? That is just like this reserve that's waiting to be tapped into. The real challenge is, where does utility for Bitcoin come from, right? If you have a dollar, someone will borrow that dollar for you, right? You charge a low enough interest rate, someone will come and borrow that. The market is efficient. There's
Yeah.
people who want to borrow dollars and go and use it. With Bitcoin, you don't have that, right? The use case for Bitcoin is you hold it and you wait, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So I think this will change over time as Bitcoin matures as an asset. We'll see more of a financial economy built around it, but it's not there today, and it's why some of the Bitcoin yield, initiatives have not taken off as much as people hoped that they would.
Yeah, well said. Send you on a roll here, mate. Quick shout out to our sponsor of the show, Prime XPT. When we come back, we're going to keep buzzing on Veda, and we're going to get into some of the architecture, design philosophy, and why you guys have done such a good job at cross-chain yield. Huge shout out to Prime XPT, longtime friends and longtime sponsors of the Crypto News podcast. We love the team at Prime XPT as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. Doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XPT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. Use the promo code CryptoNews50, that's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Okay, I want to go back to cross-chain yield. This is, we just sort of touched on it with Bitcoin and whatnot. This is where the real magic happens, because with cross-chain yield, that's where you can start grabbing basis points from all the different chains, wrapping it up into one beautiful vault and giving it back to the users, which is exactly what you guys do. And there's incredible opportunities, not just on going delta neutral, but there's tons of ARB everywhere. And then you have the sort of friend of mine, why the F isn't anyone doing this really well, like Bitcoin yield. There's tons of yield to capture. Why is cross-chain yield so important? And what are you guys doing to work magic here? Because the cross-chain complexity, the chain abstraction, it's an absolute nightmare. It's still a shit show. I wish it was more like TradFi, where it was sort of more intertwined. How do you guys take advantage of this? Give us the story here.
Let me start with why cross-chain yield is important, and it's a situation that's only going to become more important. When you look at adoption in crypto today, everyone is going to have their own chain. Like, I think this is a reality that there was debate in the past. People are going to build on Ethereum. No, people are going to build on Solana. I think it's been proven at this point that every serious financial player will have their own chain, whether that's for their compliance purposes, whether it's for value capture, whether it's for flexibility of tech stack. There's a million reasons for this, but we're seeing it play out, right? Coinbase is very successful with Base Chain. Stripe is launching Tempo. Robinhood has announced a chain with Arbitrum. All of the key financial players are eventually going to build their own chain. And what that means is, to be successful as an infrastructure company or as a crypto project in general, you need to contend with a multi-chain world.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't contend with it, you're just going to fall behind. So we understood this early on. I think it's consensus now, but we were very thoughtful when we initially built our vault architecture that this thing needs to support multiple chains natively. And what does that mean, support multiple chains? It means you can deposit and withdraw from whatever chain you're on, right? So users don't have to bridge. If they onboard through Coinbase and they're on Base, they should be able to deposit into a Veda vault on Base. So that's one thing. And number two, the vault should be able to access yield wherever it is on any chain, right? So if JP Morgan launches the chain, and they have some proprietary RWAs that you can only access on their chain, our vaults should be able to access that. So these are the two requirements for a multi-chain architecture. And we are one of the few players in the space that have that. And we were the first people to develop a truly cross-chain vault architecture. Now, I'll spare you the boring details of like how that works at a smart contract level, but I'll tell you what's hard about this and why a lot of people still haven't been able to figure it out. And fundamentally, what it boils down to is accounting. And accounting is one of those things that is super boring, right? Nobody wants to talk about accounting. Like when I hear somebody was an accounting major or whatever, I'm like, man, that must have sucked. But on like doing accounting on chain, super hard problem, right? Where you have, diverse portfolios of assets that exist in this ether, right? All these chains are async. So you don't reliably have a way of making a call on Arbitrum while you're on Ethereum. And so when you stick all of this together, you get a really nasty, complicated problem that's hard to do in a secure way. And it's the thing that we've spent a lot of time building. So yeah, I think, everyone's going to be multi-chain. It's going to become table stakes. We have the benefit of having been multi-chain first and built our architecture from first principles to support that.
Ah, what a great rip there. Jeez Louise. It's not easy. The accounting thing you brought up is so, oh my goodness, that's so bloody important too. Nightmare fuel. Just that we could do a whole podcast on that, literally. Like genuine, absolute nightmare fuel. Okay. Use cases, real world adoption. How soon, and we're already starting to see it happen. You sort of touched this at the beginning of the pod. How soon until we see a lot of the TradFi yield move over to crypto? Or will it just be TradFi will take that same yield, the same customers, the same people, bring it over to crypto and sort of just change it? See the two converging? Like, I know it's a tough question, but we'll call it even 2030, maybe 2028, 2 years, 4 years down the road. What do you think the future of just yield as a whole looks like in your eyes?
This is it's really hard to put a timeline on things. What I can say is the arrow only moves in one direction. And the thing that people have been talking about a lot, but I think has yet to really reach the scale that it needs to, is RWAs. Right? When you look on chain right now, where the yield sources, there's not that many yield sources, right? You have on-chain lending, which is a massive, massive one. You have staking, you have basis trades, right? That things like through Hyperliquid and other exchanges. But fundamentally, you don't have access to the most interesting yield sources and assets. And this is why the promise of RWA is just so massive, right? Every time you onboard one of these new assets, it just totally opens up the possibility space.
Yeah.
So, my prediction is that we will increasingly, I'll go at it from two directions. We will increasingly see more interesting yield sources move on chain. And there's a massive amount of innovation and money being spent on this category. It's totally consensus, right? Like everyone, my top prediction list for 2026, everyone says RWAs, and people have been saying that for years. And I think it's true. It's just going to happen progressively.
Gotcha.
The second side of things is what institutions and players are actually moving parts of their business on chain and investing their own resources. And this is something that is is happening extremely quickly, even more quickly than I personally was expecting. Right, you have institutions of the caliber of Coinbase, which is a crypto exchange, so it makes sense. But look at Robinhood, right? Look at Stripe. They have invested a ton in crypto. They're going really deep. It's why Coinbase and Robinhood are now like the biggest competitors. They weren't a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And so that I think is a more important signal that the largest financial players, the people who are growing and changing, millions of users' financial lives, are already today investing a ton in crypto. And so I think, we're very close to that kind of watershed, waterfall moment. But the RWA thing is kind of a bottleneck, and that'll happen, I think, a little more slowly.
Any more innovations on the yield side of things? Can be TradFi, can be crypto, the convergence of the two. No timelines or anything of the like, but is there any maybe pain points, low-hanging fruit? As one of the yield guys in the space, one of the biggest vault guys in the space, where do you see just some low-hanging fruit, some pain points? Where's some shit we need to clean up?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think RWA UX right now is horrible.
It's a 2 out of 10. It's
yeah, truly. And I think this is a function of like everyone's doing their own thing, right? The people building these, in some cases, the largest players aren't DeFi native. They don't understand things like standards. They don't understand things like conforming to interfaces. So that's one area where I think we will see a ton of progress. Having some sort of shared framework and interoperability standards for RWAs, where there's just a shared model for how you interact with these assets. And it's a win-win for everyone, right? Because if you are an RWA issuer, you're a bank or whatever, and you issue this with that standard, now you get composability with every integration that exists. Every Veda vault can use you. Every lending protocol can interface with you. So that's a very low hanging, but we'll see how quickly it happens.
Okay, so a lot of interop. I like that. Any hot takes, mate, for the end of this year, and we'll finish off with some Veda news. But any hot takes, predictions for 2026? We never get into price on the Crypto News podcast. You said Bitcoin still looks good at these levels. Can be contrarian, can be consensus. What do you got for us before we let you go today?
Sure. I will say this is also based on my personal reflection of, I've been building in DeFi for 4 years. It's a bittersweet time we live in because DeFi is finally reaching mainstream adoption and the train's left the station. It's happening. And so it's a huge validation to the many, many builders who persisted through, it's been a fucking brutal 4 years, right? Through scams and bad regulation and, like all kinds of like bad social norms around it. But where we're at is there is actually real adoption. That's the sweet part. The bitter part, I think, is that the experimentation age of DeFi is over, in my opinion. And this maybe is a hot take, but I think now we're in a world where VC dollars are going down and they're concentrating into the best and most proven technology. The natural buyer of this technology are the largest fintechs and largest institutions in the world, and they are only going to buy things that are proven and that are battle tested and are secure and that they understand. And so what this means is, as someone with a new protocol idea or like a crazy new mechanism design, which was the birth of DeFi, it was people with these crazy ideas. Today, that world isn't, it's not very appealing to those people anymore. So that's like, I don't know if that's a hot take, but I think the DeFi market has changed, and some for better, some for worse. Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, you dropped the Kraken news. That's absolutely incredible. Shout out to you and the team. Big congrats. Any other Veda news before we let you go today, son?
Yeah, so Kraken, I think, is one of our marquee partnerships, and it's what I think will become a norm in the industry, where people want diverse yields. They want multi-chain access. They want multi-asset, multi-product. And Kraken has taken a huge step in offering that to their users. I think this will become table stakes, and keep an eye out because we have a pipeline of enterprise partnerships that we'll be announcing over the coming months. And like I said, this is the norm. This is our time to actually bring DeFi to the world and bring it in a uniform experience that everyone can access.
Banger. What an appy. Appreciate you coming on. Before we let you go today, son, please let us know where listeners can find you personally and, of course, Veda online and on socials.
Yeah, Twitter's, as always, for crypto, Twitter's the best place. I'm at SUNANDR_. That's SUNANDR_. And Veda's at Veda_labs. So give us a follow, and that's where you can find the latest information.
Folks, what an episode with Sun, CEO of Veda. This was an absolute banger. Vaults will continue to grow, guys. And he just dropped the masterclass on everything on-chain yield, DeFi infra, and of course, the problem with DeFi yield today, absolutely everything we went over it. Huge shout out to Sun and the team for making this happen. If you guys enjoyed this one, I hope you did. Please do subscribe, hammer that like button as well. Speaking of the team, love you guys. Thank you for everything. And back to the listeners, you guys are the best. Keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in as always, and we'll see you on the next one. Ciao.